It's the day before Thanksgiving, and all through the studio, not a creature is stirring, not even Cudio? Prosciutto? What rhymes with studio? Ah, the heck with it. It's time for the Black and Gold Today. Up next. Welcome to the Black and Gold Today, sponsored by Cadillac of New Orleans. I'm your soon-to-be very well-fed host, Jim Derry. It's just 5 days until the Saints get back on the field to begin their stretch run, and while at 4-6 it may not seem all that important with the playoffs likely out of the picture, it's quite the opposite. A limp to the finish line with double-digit losses could spell more major changes to this team, including some that could send the Hoodats into a fanatical tizzy. And before I get the blood boiling too much, let's bring in NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune sports columnist Jeff Duncan. And Dunk, let's just jump right into the question. What record do you think it will take for them not to blow this team up?
Well, you know, Jim, that's a tough question to answer. I don't think they're going to blow the team up no matter what happens the rest of the way, because I think they kind of did that in the offseason. They made a number of changes. About half the roster's new, a lot of coaching changes. So I think this, in some ways, was anticipated that this would be a little bit of a transition year with so many young players on the defensive side of the ball. So I'll be surprised if they, quote-unquote, blow it up. But obviously every year in the NFL, there are going to be changes, and you can count on that, especially if this team ends up losing more games down the stretch.
Catherine Terrell and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but talk a little bit about how much feeling you think of the future, at least for the rest of the season, we'll get from this game coming up in Houston on Sunday.
You know, I have no idea, Jim. I mean, I've tried to get a feel for this team all year long, and like the fans, I don't think I have a beat on them week to week. You just don't know what team you're going to get. A team good enough to, blow out the Falcons and dominate some decent teams like the Colts on the road, and then they lay an egg against the Titans and the Redskins. And I don't think Sean Payton or the coaching staff knows week to week what to expect. So look, if they come out and play well against Houston, it won't surprise me. But do I think and have the confidence that that's going to carry over to the next week? Not at all.
What do you expect?
Well, look, I think they're going to have to play well offensively, especially on third down. Houston leads the league defensively in third down efficiency defense. The Saints lead the league offensively in third down conversion rate. So I think that's going to be a critical down, and they got to figure out how to block J.J. Watt, Jim. I mean, he's the best defensive player in the league, 11.5 sacks, leads the league, 33 quarterback hits, J.D. The second highest rated player in the league has 20. That's how much better he is than everybody else. That's the key to the game. If they can block J.J. Watt, I think they'll have success.
Yeah, well, not a lot of teams have been successful at doing that this year. Really, their entire defensive front isn't bad.
Right, and they're playing lights-out defense. Their last 14 quarters, Houston's allowed 2 total touchdowns in those 14 quarters. You know how many the Saints have allowed in that span? 17. So I think Houston's got to be given the edge in this game.
Way to go, Debbie Downer. Let's talk about, actually, let's get away from the Saints for just a second. And there's a plethora of Thanksgiving games on the docket, and you being our prognosticator with the spread and all those sorts of things. Let's talk about the 3 games on the docket and what you see tomorrow. Philadelphia, Detroit. How do you like that one?
Well, look, Philadelphia's a desperate team. The seat is getting hot on Chip Kelly up there, but Detroit is playing very well. Had a nice win this past week and beat Oakland. So I like Detroit in that game. They're tough to beat on Thanksgiving Day. Their defense is playing very well right now. Weird
thing here, coming up at the 3 o'clock game at 3:30, Carolina is playing at Dallas. Carolina, as we know, has won 14 consecutive games in the regular season. But Dallas has won 7 consecutive games in the regular season with Tony Romo at quarterback. Something's got to give.
Yeah, you know what? I got a sneaky feeling about this game. Dallas is almost in playoff mode right now. Jim, they're 3-7, but they're still alive in the NFC East because the leader is 5-5 right now. I like Dallas in this game. I just feel like, look, Cam Newton is on the cover of Sports Illustrated. It's the SI jinx. He can't fight that.
You know, I didn't have the guts to predict it, but, I'm kind of with you. I have a weird feeling about that game as well. And then the night game, it looks on paper to be a stinker, but who knows when Chicago and Green Bay, this game, who knows what it's going to be.
Yeah, Chicago always plays Green Bay tough. The series is 92 to 91 all time.
It's crazy.
It's
With
incredible.
6 ties.
Chicago's got a 1-game lead. Thing goes over 180 games, but Green Bay looked like themselves against Minnesota last week. I got to go with the Packers.
All right, well, I think I'm with you there, so I'm sure they're jinxed. Hey, have a happy Thanksgiving, Dunk.
All right, you too, Jim. Take care, buddy.
See you later. And we'll be right back for Wednesday's delicious Extra Point.
What's one of the nicest things that comes with your new Cadillac from Cadillac of New Orleans? 0% interest.
Get 0% interest on all new Cadillacs, now at Cadillac of New Orleans. New owners, new attitude, on Lime Street in Rye in Metairie.
For today's Extra Point, we celebrate Thanksgiving. Over the years, and even currently, there are several players who inspire one to think about the joys of the day, and they do it just by hearing their names mentioned. So in honor of the overstuffed plate most of you couch potatoes shall enjoy on Thursday, we give a tip of the helmet to former Steelers linebacker Jack Ham, who once had a teammate named Lynn Swan. Then there's Jerry Rice. He remains ingrained in everyone's mind as the greatest receiver in the history of football. Want some spice? How about Julius Peppers? There's no truth to the rumor that when he was drafted by the Carolina Panthers in 2002, Peter Piper picked him. And want someone closer to home to represent? Look no further than Jarris Byrd. And even though he's had trouble flying to the ball this season, he's had no trouble imitating a turkey. And lastly, although he's far from home, I knew I would fumble on Thanksgiving. One day you could see a kid from Ohio named Jason Gobble, shown here on the right, as a running back for the Stowe Bulldogs. But Bulldogs eat turkeys, right? Let it go. You have food to bake, and I have miles to go before I partake. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, everyone, and remember, don't drive stuffed. See y'all for Pixie Dust Friday.